Hey folks, what's happening? This is not a video about holding too much of one particular stock in a concentrated position and why that's bad and what the risk is. All right. There's philosophies behind that, but that's not what we're going to talk about. What we're going to talk about is if you want to unwind it, and more often than not, you want to, how do we go about that? What are the actual tools to do so? Excuse me. So my name is Joshua Staff. I'm founder of Very Private Wealth. I manage the financial lives of a couple handfuls of families throughout the country whose financial complexity, maybe their personal bandwidth has gotten in the way. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to walk you through the real menu on how to actually tackle this stuff. I'm going to talk about systematic selling plans, which is what we're going to tackle today. Probably the most boring, but an important one also, but the most straightforward one as well. So exchange funds, hedging with options, and we're going to also talk about a couple 1 to 2 strategies that will kind of let you build the capacity to sell without eating the full tax bill all at once. So understand, I've sat across the table from this exact problem more times than I can even count. Okay, I'm going to walk you through the way that I do this with my clients, the mechanics, the trade-offs. I have to let you know up front, there was no magic bullet for this, okay? But that's okay. This is usually a good problem to have. So let's start with the simplest one, selling systematically instead of making every decision in real time. Now, for executives and company insiders, that's a 10b5-1 plan. Hopefully you know that by now. Here's what it actually does. It lets you set up a pre-committed selling schedule on specific dates, okay, while you don't have any insider information about the company. Now, once that plan is live, your trades will most likely qualify for an affirmative defense, even if you later come into possession of information that the market doesn't have yet, because you locked in the schedule before you knew anything, right? Now, back in 2022, the rules on this shifted a little bit. If you're an officer or director, the cooling off period you have when it's 90 days after adoption of the plan or 2 business days after the company releases its financial results. You know what? It's on the screen. You can always call HR. You can call me even, okay? Excuse me. You have to certify in good faith that you're not sitting on inside information, generally limit to 1 plan at a time also, okay? There was an old trick of running overlapping plans and only executing the more favorable one at the time. That's closed now. So here's what you're giving up to get this, the ability to react. Now, once the plan is live, it sells on schedule, right? Even if the stock drops 20% the week after you set it up. So you do not get to pause because the news looks bad that morning. In exchange, you never have to make a call in the moment. You don't have to second guess your stuff with the stock ticking right away on your screen. That's not a flaw in this tool. That's the whole point of this tool. Now, tax stuff, all right? A 10b5-1, it does not inherently eliminate the gain or give it special tax treatment of any kind. Okay, each sale, it's still a taxable event. But what it can do is it can spread the sales across time. And what that does is it allows you to possibly create opportunities to manage brackets, to manage surtaxes, to other income sensitive thresholds, charitable planning, state taxes, depending on where you're going to be. And maybe throughout retirement, you're somewhere else, things like that. So don't confuse spreading the sales around with automatically reducing the tax. The tax result, it depends on what depends on what happens around those sales, right? So if the cost of taxes is your real concern here, this tool alone isn't the answer. But maybe paired with some other tools, the exchange fund, some other tax avoid strategies that we're going to talk about, that's when it's going to materialize and be a little bit more helpful for you. Now, everything I just described is really built towards insiders with SEC reporting obligations. And a lot of people with a concentrated position, you're just not in that boat at all. So maybe you've worked somewhere for 15 years and the stock quietly became half of your net worth. Maybe you inherited it. Although I like to think at that point, you probably would have used a step up in basis to handle this and diversify out, but whatever. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you're not an executive and you're just a very early employee in the company and it worked out. So you don't need a 10b5-1 plan. That's specifically a legal shield against insider claims. So you're not an insider. You don't need the shield. But the underlying idea, it still applies to you and it's the more useful part, okay? You sell on a schedule, not a feeling. You pick a amount, you pick a cadence, monthly, quarterly, I don't care. Let it run regardless of what the stock did that week, okay? You're not protecting yourself from an SEC violation. You're protecting yourself from you. If you veer off this plan, you wait for a price target, a bit of news, whatever, you're not executing the plan. You're trying to time. Don't, okay? And that's also where behavioral biases really come into play here. So if you're being honest with yourself and you know you can't hold yourself accountable to this, make someone else do it for you. In these non-insider scenarios, the plan's not valuable because it's a legal armor, right? It's valuable because it makes the decision, or excuse me, it takes the decision away from the version of yourself that's just going to stare at the ticker all the time. So next time, we're going to get into hedging with options. I think it's going to be a little bit more fun. And there's also a legal wrinkle in there that surprises a lot of folks who hold a concentrated position. So go be kind, go learn something new, and leave everything better than you found it. We'll talk to you in a week.